Thousands of employees working for the state of Wisconsin, but in the Department of Transportation, often it's private sector workers designing highway projects. Good evening, I'm Eric Franke. News 3 followed the money back in May of 2011 and found private engineers were often doing state work at a much higher price tag. We were told then steps were underway to remedy that spending. And News 3 Investigates looked into where we stand today, and Jessica Arp has some answers.
Well, this practice began nearly a decade ago of shifting state work at the DOT to private contractors. It was costing the state money in 2011, and we found it's still going on today. But the DOT secretary says they're trying to find a new balance of work to save money. Whether there's ice or snow slowing down our daily commute, we tend to focus more on the condition of the road this time of year. But it's this time of year where engineers are hard at work planning the construction that will begin in a few short months. And News 3 found it still isn't just state engineers doing the work.
And right now, what's happening is that we're paying someone else to do it for more money.
In 2011, News 3 found the state spent nearly $14 million more than needed on engineering highway projects in 6 months because there weren't enough state employees to do the work, and private engineers were being hired instead. Now, 20 months later, we wanted to see if anything had changed. Since then, more than 1,000 cost-benefit analysis forms have been processed, which compare the prices of private versus state engineers. The reasons are similar: not enough staff or expertise. We looked through them all, and this time the price tag since our first story aired totals nearly $50 million. That includes nearly $70,000 extra for the Fish Hatchery Road interchange and $2.5 million for preliminary engineering work on I-39 from Rock County to Madison. $50 million, does that surprise you? That's how much more we spent on the private consultants than it would have cost state workers to do that?
I think it's a complicated process, and there's a lot of ways to make that analysis.
We took the numbers to DOT Secretary Mark Gottlieb, who told us in 2011 that he was backfilling engineering positions to slow the spending. Where are we now?
We've gone a long way to bringing down our vacancy rates for engineers. In fiscal 2011, we had a vacancy rate of over 13% in engineering positions. We've brought that down to under 5% now.
According to numbers from the DOT, 124 more engineers are on staff now, and Gottlieb has actually requested 180 more in the next state budget.
We believe we can add those positions without increasing costs. In fact, we think we would have a modest cost savings, and we would slightly reduce the percentage of our program that's delivered by consultants.
The state's own budget proposal says that right now 70% of engineering projects are done by private consultants. New positions could cut that down to 63%, even though the state agrees that consultants cost 31% more than state engineers. And that's a level that you feel is going to, you said, be most cost effective?
Yeah, I don't know that I want to get too hung up in saying that there's some magical percentage. I think, again, the important thing is, and our goal that we're striving to meet, is to make sure that we have the technical resources in the department to manage a complex program.
If private engineers cost more and there's these budget shortfalls, then why are they going with the more expensive engineering firms and to do the work?
The State Engineering Association argues a 70-30 mix of state workers versus private engineers would be better, and is even skeptical about the likelihood of the latest plan.
There's a big if there. This is just a budget proposal. The budget proposal, that's a small step forward. The governor's always talking about the hardworking taxpayers of Wisconsin, and he wants to do the right thing by them. Well, here's where you can start doing that.
We asked the governor's office today whether he plans to put any of these changes in his next budget. His spokesman told us only that, quote, investing in infrastructure is one of the governor's top priorities, and that additional details on the DOT budget request will be released in the near future.
Well, that's a pretty vague answer. Well, is there any possibility that private contractors would ever not be used in these jobs?
Well, it's likely no, and that's state engineers and DOT agree that's not necessarily the goal. Consultants have some specialized expertise that it really wouldn't pay to have in the Department of Transportation. The American Council of Engineering Companies of Wisconsin has argued in the past that they do provide an important service to the state and have even disputed the fact that they cost more, although the DOT's numbers that we shared with you tonight do contradict those claims.
A complex issue. Some good digging there, Jess. Thanks a lot.